want us to get started. I would first like to express my thanks for being asked to talk about one of my very favorite prayer practices, walking the labyrinth. But to get started, I have a couple of questions. I found out just a couple of weeks ago, and I was a little surprised to know that there were members of our congregation that did not know we have a labyrinth on site. So I would like to ask you if there's anybody here that did not know we had a labyrinth. Everybody knew that, yes, good. Well, if you meet people that, might not know, I mean, if you park in the parking lot and come in, go into the sanctuary and then go back out, you may not know it's out in the front, on the corner. So, that was a surprising thing to me, that were a lot of newer members don't know that there is a labyrinth on site. How many of you have walked our labyrinth?
I've walked it many times.
Oh, quite a few of you. Great. Notice my kids over here? Has anyone here walked other labyrinths besides ours?
No.
Ah, yes, quite a few labyrinth walkers. Yes. I'm going to ask you, can I ask where have you walked a labyrinth?
I forget. Wasn't it?
I forget.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
There's two of them. There's one on campus.
Yes, I remember they
Fine.
yeah.
And I walked the one at Coast Ranch in New Mexico.
At the Abbey in Scotland.
Okay.
What's it, the Guild House in Toronto.
On the floor of the cathedral in Chartres in France, it's a really big one.
Yeah.
And then also one in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
I have to tell you that that's my dream, to go to Chartres and walk that labyrinth.
That's a good dream.
Oh, well, I was gonna say the children, the one on campus is the one they did. So you guys
Oh,
can see
okay.
pictures of that.
I can never find that. I've been over there about 3 times looking for it and have never been able to.
It's at the Arboretum.
I know it's the Arboretum, but I couldn't find it. Even my GPS wouldn't get me there.
And then there's another one on the University of Tampa campus.
You find
I'm
it.
sorry?
There's another one on the University of Tampa campus, but.
Good.
I walked one in Dunedin, Florida, where my friend is at Faith United Church of Christ,
Okay.
as well as one on campus.
Yeah, I've been several places and walked them because, like I say, it's one of my very, very favorite things to do. And I'm going to start with my own very personal story about walking the labyrinth and why it is so important to me. But at this time, I'm going to make a disclaimer. Not everybody will have the same or even similar experiences. Each person is on their own faith journey with God. I've had a lot of people say, oh, well, I didn't experience what you did. I didn't feel the same way. And it's, not everybody's going to do that. It's just not going to happen. Everybody's journey is their own. Some of you may remember that in June of 2002, the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church USA met here in Columbus, downtown at the Convention Center. I, along with a multitude of others, volunteered for that event. One day after my shift was over, I decided to try the labyrinth that was set up in one of the rooms. I had never done it before. It was the very first time. I had no idea what to do or what to expect. And I'm sure many of you may have felt that same way the first time. I was instructed to take my shoes off, but that was it. Nobody said anything else. And I think it was just a sign that said, please remove your shoes. I was holding on to several things that I had been using or carrying around for my volunteer job there, and I didn't know what to do with them. So I just kept holding on to them. I had some things that was going on in my life that I really wanted to pray about. And I thought, what better time and place to do it? I stepped into the labyrinth, clutching my items tightly to my chest, and I started walking and praying. I was about 2/3 of the way toward the center when I realized that something had changed. I was no longer praying about my problem. All the things that I had been clutching and holding were not there anymore. They were being held very, very loosely. I had relaxed. And I felt a profound sense of peace. There were others walking the labyrinth, as well as myself, but I was only vaguely aware of them. I was surprised and amazed. I was truly at peace. I am not a person who journals, but I could not wait to get home and write down my experience. It was that profound. I think this is what is called a thin place in Celtic spirituality. A place where we humans feel a divine presence or a closeness to God. This, of course, sparked my interest in the labyrinth. So sometime later, working with the Worship and Arts Commission, I arranged to have the Presbyterian's portable, I use that term lightly, labyrinth brought to Covenant to introduce this practice here. The portable or indoor labyrinth was made of very heavy plastic or canvas and took several people to carry. Wasn't as portable as you might think. We set it up in Fellowship Hall, June 20th to the 27th, 2004. We had set aside a number of 2-hour blocks of time during that week for people to come and walk. And we did that because we had candles lit and we had some soft music playing. And so we had a volunteer at these 2-hour things, but it was during the week, so people could come. There were 2 or 3 times, sometimes 2, sometimes 3 times during a day, weekday, for people that they could come. And I was very, very pleased with the fact that there were 32 people who took advantage of the opportunity, and we got very good feedback from almost all of them. Some people didn't give any feedback. We had no negative feedbacks. And some even mentioned a feeling of peace and calm while they were walking. On January 27th, 2005, Covenant held an Epiphany service centered around the labyrinth at 6:30 p.m. in the evening. Katie Kinnison, some of you may know, symbolically walked the labyrinth while there was a finger labyrinth in the bulletin for the congregation to use during reflective readings. I do have a program over on the table from that service and some pictures, if you'd like to look at them later. Covenant used the portable labyrinth on many, many occasions. After several years of planning, our own labyrinth, and it was a lot of years of planning. I don't remember, it was 3 or 4 years they were trying to get the labyrinth together. But our own was finished in 2019. And there's, Bob Tollett has brought up, a diagram of the final plan that's also over on the table. I'll have one last personal story. I have been a part of Presbyterian women for a very long time, and I have attended quite a few of their church-wide gatherings. Since my discovery of the labyrinth, I have always scheduled time to walk it while at these events. In August of 2024, at the latest triennial PW gathering held in St. Louis, Missouri, I got on an elevator and went up to the 24th floor of the hotel where the spirituality center was and where the labyrinth was set up. There was no one else there at that time. Oops. I was really all alone in the spirituality center. I walked to the door and saw that the labyrinth took up the entire room. And I mean the entire room. And for those who know me well and have known me for a long time, they know that I am extremely acrophobic. I have an irrational fear of high places. One wall of this room on the 24th floor was literally floor to ceiling windows. And the labyrinth took up the whole room. So for some, it would have provided a great view of St. Louis, but for me, it was just plain terrifying, to be honest. In walking that labyrinth, my shoulder would be less than an inch from those windows. For somebody with acrophobia, that is not a good thing. After several minutes of debate with myself, and I did debate for a little while, I decided to try it anyway. Don't ask me why. The path started to the right, away from the windows, and I thought when I turned toward the windows, if I started to panic, I could just stop where I was and leave. Now that's very optimistic of me, I've got to tell you. And I'm happy to say that I had a very calm, peaceful experience. And as I exited, I took a deep breath and thanked God for guiding me through it and through my fears. For me, this was an extraordinary experience. It's not one that I would like to do again, but it was the fact that I even could get through it. I've reflected on it a number of times that if it weren't for the labyrinth, I would not even have stepped into that room. If it was a meeting or something, I wouldn't have gone to it. That's my acrophobia is amazing. And it's very debilitating in some cases. So this was an extraordinary event for me. Now, no, we're going to have a lot of time here. This is the hour that I usually teach Sunday school, and as you can tell, I'm not used to speaking in public with people. I love teaching Sunday school, but this is also terrifying for me. But this is the hour I usually teach Sunday school, and I teach the 4th through 5th plus grade students, and when I say plus, I sometimes have 7th and 8th grade students who join us, which is great. But when we're talking about prayer in class, we also talk about the labyrinth. And many in my class, as mentioned before, have said that they have used the labyrinth for prayer. And I think that's wonderful that they're learning this young how to use these meditation tools. So I've asked my class, and I didn't know who was going to show up today, so I've asked them to join me and share some general information about labyrinths with you. So I'm going to let them give you some information. I don't think there's anybody, hang on just a minute. Oops. I got you, that's all I have to do. Okay. First, and I'll do the first one, a labyrinth and a maze are two different things. A maze is a puzzle. or riddle to be solved. It has misleading paths and dead ends designed to trick you. A labyrinth is a clear path into the center and back out again. It has sometimes been called a model or metaphor for our life and journey with God. And I think Sam? Close to your mouth, Linda.
No one knows where or when labyrinth started, but archaeology dates it back to the Bronze Age, about 4,000 to 5,000 years BCE, when simple 7-circuit models were found in drawings on clay tablets, stone walls, and coins. Labyrinths are older than mazes. They can be found in many faith traditions and cultures around the world.
Ella?
The labyrinth has sometimes been called a circular path, and many of them are, but they can be in many shapes such as squares, rectangles, and octagons. They can also be small or large. Finger labyrinths are small and can be printed on paper, carved from wood, or molded from metal or other mediums. Walking labyrinths are large and can be as simple as stones laid in a pattern on the ground or tape on the floor, or as elaborate as a trimmed hedge or a pattern laid in the brick like cupboards.
There was a renewed interest in labyrinths in the 11th and 12th centuries, and many churches incorporated them in their designs. Probably the most famous is the labyrinth on the floor of the Chartres Cathedral in France, which was built in 1202. A long time ago, 1202. It is an 11th circuit labyrinth and is the model for most modern labyrinths, including covenants. Thomas? Yeah.
This is a diagram of a 7-circuit labyrinth. Note that this design starts out with a cross as highlighted here.
I don't know if you can see the highlight. Would you show it to me? Just point out to the window. I find it very interesting with that one. I have a book over here called Labyrinths, and on the cover is an uncircuit type of labyrinth built, made like that one, with the cross at the center, but I find when they cut it in the hedge, they made it into a Celtic cross, which is very interesting. Okay, Roldan.
The labyrinth is a walking prayer. It is a pilgrimage or a journey with God. When you step into the labyrinth, you should consider that you are stepping on holy ground. Some have suggested 3 basic movements as a help when you walk. The first is purgation. On entering the labyrinth, it is time to purge or leave behind distractions and to seek the power and the presence of God. Second is illumination, resting in the center. Third, union, walking back out into the world in union with God. There's actually no set way to pray in the labyrinth, but we suggest you just walk in with an open heart.
I mentioned before that we had a labyrinth service here in 2005, and that those 3 steps were used in that service when we did reflective readings with them. If you want to look at the bulletin from there, you will see how that was incorporated in that. There are many different spiritual disciplines. This is just one of them. And I hope that you will explore what works for you. And I'm gonna ask, does anybody have any questions? Okay. Would anybody like to share their experience walking the labyrinth? I've shared mine, so I know other people have different experiences. Tori was.
Just very briefly, I had not walked a labyrinth for quite some time, and as many of you know, I lost both of my parents last year. I've been holding off on making the trip down to Florida to see my high school best friend until I didn't run the risk of having to cancel on the spur of the moment because of one of my parents' health issues. So at long last, I was headed down to Florida to see her after quite a while. And it was really pretty emotional to get onto the labyrinth. I just felt a lot of emotions welling up. It was positive. It was a positive time for me to feel those feelings and kind of be able to graciously release some of them. So yeah, that was, and generally I do have some emotions well up that are, things that I needed to feel and things that maybe I needed to release. So that's often what that's like for me. And I have a request of all 5 of you, before we leave this room, could I please take a picture of the 5 of you together? Students and teachers. This is a special day that we're kind of trying to get some interest regenerated in getting use of the labyrinth.
Diana?
Our sewing group, back when Katie Kenson was leaving and it was during COVID and so forth, we gave her a quilt and we did it out on the labyrinth. It wasn't a time for a big gathering, it was just our little group gave her a quilt to thank her for the service to the church. We chose to do it on the labyrinth.
Diane, if you took a picture of that, I'd love to see a picture of the quilt.
I'll see if I can.
It'll take a minute, I'm sure, to find. It's a while ago, but yeah, it'd be great to see.
Anybody else? Jay?
I have a few pictures of Bob Pellet being out there building the labyrinth at 100 degrees.
I thought Bob was going to bring down the original plan. He does have it,
Yeah,
but I think somebody probably got him doing something else, and I know he's driving the bus today too. I said he brought down a pattern of the one that is out there now. The original drawing and the one that we actually ended up with are not the same. They're very different. The entrance is different, and it's more of a squarish path. So it's kind of interesting. So at some point in time, that'll be there. Yeah.
I was just gonna add to Jay's story about the 100-degree heat. There's a guy that would walk his dog consistently around the area and would always peek in and look at the labyrinth and all that. And one day said, "Can I just help you?" So it was a community, ended up being kind of a community thing too.
That's great. That's great. Anybody else?
A couple things. I do remember during COVID, I guess we must have had an Easter service, but honestly, I can't remember. It was outside. Well, it would have been outside, but I live close here, and I was surprised when I drove by this corner, which I do quite often, and people had put flowers out on a standing cross, and I had no idea. So, I have a friend who went to Chartres Cathedral to learn about, she's fascinated with labyrinths. And so I would go with her to the one at OSU, and it is, but it's close to a parking lot, but you have to walk there.
Yeah. I got to the parking lot, I just couldn't.
Oh, wow, yeah, well,
It just was that fun.
I just kept walking.
surrounded by, which is very different than the one I went to go to in Jeanette, which was in the desert. And you walk to get there, and it's very, what's the word I want to use, kind of rugged. I mean, it's not, it's just like rocks, you're paddling through rocks and you pass animals that are in a field along the way, like donkeys and things. And so, and then you're also surrounded by the higher elevations and the mountains and the different places that are a part of that, those trench. And so it was, it's really a special, it was a very special experience. We felt like we were kind of doing the animals, to be honest. I grew up out there together.
Anybody else? Yes, Mona?
I think it's so neat that Cora Kaiserhoven and took some leadership of cleaning up at the plantings and stuff, and Tori came and they worked on just making this area really nice. And I was reminded by Jeannie's comment, I mean, the natural setting really always adds to things like this. And they created forwards, made it neater out here.
Yeah, and I will, and maybe Tori was gonna say something later, but one of the reasons we're doing this today is because this coming Saturday, May 2nd, is World Labyrinth Day. And I think we're going to encourage people to come over at 1 o'clock time to walk the labyrinth. And it's a worldwide thing, so it's kind of nice to know a little bit about them beforehand. To find out more about labyrinths, you can go to, I thought this was interesting, sorry, I don't think you can still. You can find more about labyrinths from labyrinthsociety.org on the internet. And if you're traveling, they have a link, and I thought this was interesting, they have a link called Labyrinth Locator. And we're on it. And we are on it. Yeah.
I think they did.
Yeah, we are, government is on it. And you can just type in if you're traveling or anything and you want to go walk a labyrinth. And I know, I was down in Nashville with my daughter for Easter. And that's one of the things we were doing, was looking for labyrinths to go walk. Unfortunately, we didn't actually make it because my granddaughter got injured in a lacrosse game and had to have knee surgery. But it's an interesting thing, and wherever you're at, you can just type in where you're at or that, and it will tell you where there are labyrinths to go to if you want to walk one. And if you don't want to just go to labyrinthsociety.org, you can go directly to labyrinthlocator.org, and it will give you the same site. So, and it's quite interesting that there's a whole website for where to go to find a labyrinth if you want to. I have a handout on the table, as well as some books and photos if you'd like to look at them. I think we have enough time. If anybody, it's a nice day outside, a little cool, but if you want to walk the labyrinth before worship, that would be lovely too. And I thank you all very much.